Under the government Project Blue Book, the Air Force studied unidentified flying objects from 1947 through 1969. The project, based at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio, was canceled on December 17, 1969. 701 sightings remained unidentified out of a total of 12,618 reported to Project Blue Book. Government secrets they don't want you to know. Ask virtually everyone whether life exists on other planets and moons, and the answer you'll get is a firm yes. Going back decades, and in many ways generations, we've been introduced to a slew of nice and terrible extraterrestrials. Their presence pervades our entertainment and society, and we appear to have an almost natural belief, or is it hope, that we are not alone in the world. Unidentified Flying Objects and Air Force Project Blue Book. Under Project Blue Book, the Air Force studied unidentified flying objects from 1947 through 1969. The project, based at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio, was canceled on December 17, 1969. 701 sightings remained unidentified out of a total of 12,618 reported to Project Blue Book. The United States Air Force retired to the National Archives its documents on Project Blue Book pertaining to unexplained flying objects investigations. The records from Project Blue Book have been declassified and are now accessible for inspection in our research room. We have no information on sightings after 1969 because the study was closed in 1969. The National Archives has received several requests for information on papers labeled MJ-12 and Briefing Document, Operation Majestic 12. We conducted extensive searches among the records of the United States Air Force and the Joint Chiefs of Staff in our possession to locate these papers. The Truman and Eisenhower libraries also examined their collections for references to or copies of the documents. As well as the National Archives has the archives of the National Security Council, NSC, for the Truman and Eisenhower administrations. The indexes of the NSC's policy paper and meeting minute files were searched for the keywords MJ-12, Magnificent, Unidentified Flying Objects, UFO, Flying Saucers, Alien Biological Organisms, and Aquarius. With the exception of a July 14, 1954, memorandum for General Twining, from Robert Cutler, Special Assistant to the President, subject, NCS/MJ-12 Special Studies Project, these searches were all negative. The one-page memorandum alludes to a briefing scheduled for July 16. The briefing or MJ-12 are not mentioned in the memorandum. Textual records of Project Blue Book, documents connected to unexplained flying objects investigations, omitting the identities of those engaged in the sightings, are now available for research at the National Archives building. The records consist of about 2 cubic feet of an unorganized project or administrative files, 37 cubic feet of case files with individual sightings arranged chronologically, and 3 cubic feet of records relating to the Office of Special Investigations, OSI, with portions of which are arranged chronologically. By OSI district, as well as by a broad command, a cubic foot of records contains around 2,000 pages. A file list for the project files and an index to individual sightings, recorded by date and place, are among the finding aids for these records. Textual documents from the Blue Book are available on 94 rolls of 35 mm microfilm, T1206, in the National Archives microfilm reading room. The first microfilm roll has a table of contents for all of the rolls as well as the finding aids. Photographs dispersed throughout the textual data were also independently shot on the last 2 reels. The Motion Picture and Sound and Video Branch, NNSM, and the Still Picture Branch, SPB, care for motion picture film, sound recordings, and certain still photographs, NNSP. U.S. Air Force Fact Sheet concerning UFOs and Project Blue Book. The Secretary of the Air Force announced the conclusion of Project Blue Book, the Air Force program for investigating UFOs, on December 17, 1969. A total of 618 sightings were recorded to Project Blue Book between 1947 and 1969. 701 of these remain unidentified. The project was based at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which no longer receives, documents, or investigates UFO claims. The decision to end UFO investigations was based on an assessment of a report prepared by the University of Colorado titled Scientific Study of Unidentified Flying Objects, a review of the University of Colorado's report by the National Academy of Sciences, previous UFO studies, and Air Force experience investigating UFO reports during the 1940s, 1950s, and 1960s. As a result of these investigations and studies, as well as the experience gained from investigating UFO reports since 1948, Project Blue Book has reached the following conclusions. 1. No UFO reported, investigated, and evaluated by the Air Force has ever posed a threat to our national security, and 2. There has been no evidence submitted to or discovered by the Air Force that sightings categorized as unidentified represent technological developments or principles beyond the range of human understanding. The Air Force regulations creating and governing the program for studying and analyzing UFOs were withdrawn with the termination of Project Blue Book. Documentation pertaining to the previous Blue Book inquiry has been permanently transferred to the Military Reference Branch, National Archives and Records Administration, Washington, D.C. 20408, and is now open to the public for examination and analysis. Nothing has transpired to indicate that the Air Force should renew its investigation of UFOs since Project Blue Book was ended. Because of the significant expense to the Air Force in the past, and the restricted funding of Air Force priorities now, the Air Force is unlikely to become engaged with the UFO investigation again. A number of institutions and professional scientific organizations, including the American Association for the Advancement of Science, have investigated UFOs. Occurrences during regular meetings and lectures. In addition, Gale's Encyclopedia of Associations contains a list of private groups interested in aerial phenomena, edition 8, vol. 1, pages 432 to 433. Such prompt examination of the problem by private parties guarantees that solid evidence is not disregarded by the scientific community. A person reporting a UFO to the base is urged to contact a private or professional group, as described above, or a local law enforcement agency if the caller believes his or her public safety is jeopardized. It is frequently asserted incorrectly that the remains of extraterrestrial visitors are or have been kept at Wright-Patterson AFB. There are no extraterrestrial visitors or equipment on Wright-Patterson Air Force Base currently or in the past.